The medicine delusion. I find the medicine worse than the malady. Shakespeare. We are getting rid of the drug illusion, declared Dr. Woods Hutchinson, the noted medical writer of America, at a luncheon given on June the 6th, 1925, by the English-speaking Union to 700 American and Canadian doctors assembled in London, England. The doctor added that if 99% of all drugs we possess were thrown into the sea, it would be a good thing for the human race, but rather hard on the fishes. Sir Arbuthnot Lane, surgeon to King George, seconded Dr. Hutchinson's remarks. They might say, he went on, that he was trying to establish a suicide club for doctors. It practically came to that because as the public became educated in matters of health, the medical profession might disappear. It was in fact an anomaly that a medical profession should exist. If people were really healthy, there was no reason to have doctors at all. 25 years ago, the charms of the patent medicine fakir and the incantations of the Indian medicine man were in the heyday of their popularity. Patent medicine manufacturers made fabulous fortunes selling cheap whiskey adulterated with burnt sugar and water under 100 different names for $1 the bottle. You could hardly pick up a magazine or newspaper without seeing a dozen of their lurid ads. The day of the Indian medicine man and the street corner fakir has passed, and for a time, thanks to the crusade against them led by Colliers and backed up by a number of other reputable magazines, patent medicine manufacturers suffered an eclipse. But they are back again today, in a more respectable guise. Pick up almost any small town paper and you will find a dozen sovereign remedies for tired women or fretful children or run-down men. Concoctions, most of them containing just enough alcohol to give you a pleasant sense of stimulation, enough burnt sugar to colour them, and a whole lot of water. If the peddling of drugs depended entirely or even mostly on patent medicine advertisers, the end of it would soon be in sight. But it doesn't. The worst offenders of all are the ones who, of all people, should know better. Some of the doctors. Understand, I don't mean all of them, and I don't mean the best of them. There are thousands of them, like Dr. Woods Hutchinson, who have the courage to get up and say that medicine itself cannot cure disease, that it never has cured disease, that nature is the only healer. Drugs can give you temporary relief from pain. They can cleanse, yes, but as for curing anything, no drug is made that can do that. The principal good that the administering of a drug has is in its effects upon the mind of the patient. Men have been taught for so many years that drugging is the only way to cure disease, that when you give them something, they believe they are going to be cured, and to the extent that they believe, they are cured. The best proof of that is to let two patients suffering from the same complaint go to two different physicians, the one a doctor of the regular school, the other a homeopath. The regular doctor will administer a dose containing 10,000 times as much of the mother drug as the homeopath. In fact, there is so slight a trace of any drug in the homeopath's prescription that it might be called none at all, yet it frequently happens that his patient will respond just as readily as the other will to his drug. Dr. Gore, in a recent issue of Pearson's magazine, said, "A few years ago there appeared an article in the Atlantic Monthly written by a young woman physician who was with the Red Cross in Russia. Immediately following the Kerensky's revolution, the Russian peasants who, for the first time in their lives, found that they could keep what they earned. They began to think of going to doctors for ailments which had afflicted them for years, but which they could never before afford to have treated. Within 2 weeks' time, this young physician exhausted her supply of medicine. But the rush of the peasant patients continued, and she was reduced to the placebo idea of administering coloured waters with a slight amount of a single drug quinine. If I recall correctly, for several weeks she obtained such wonderful results in every conceivable form of affliction that she said her faith in specific medication was completely lost." In a dispatch from Rome to the New York Herald Tribune, and a date of June the 15th, 1926, I read, "Under the sceptical eyes of local doctors, Don Luigi Garofalo, a priest in the Quarto sector of Naples, alleges that he is curing all the ills that flesh is heir to, from pneumonia to broken bones, by a practical application of the theory derived from the text, 'Man is of dust, and to dust he shall return.' Don Luigi argues that from a homeopathic viewpoint, dust should be a curative element. So from dust taken from the reddish earth near Pozzuoli, which contains traces of sulphur and copper, he makes pills for the afflicted, but he contends that any other earth will do. The cures, most of which have been effected by means of the red earth, include the healing of broken limbs, tubercular cases, toothache, internal lesions, heart diseases, mumps, paralysis and fevers. Of course, it is not to be inferred from this that reliance can be placed upon red earth or any other kind of earth to cure you of any ill, but it shows that even so common, ordinary a thing as a bit of dirt can be used to arouse people from the lethargic condition in which sickness so frequently leaves them, and gives them the power to help themselves. Take another case. Your doctor prescribes regular doses of some drug. You take it once. It has the desired effect. You take it again. The effect is not quite so pronounced. You keep it up, and in a short time the drug seems to have lost its efficacy. Why? The same chemical elements are there, and if you mix the same chemical elements in a retort, you will get the same results, whether you do it once or 1,000 times. Why doesn't it work the same way with drugs and your body? Because the strongest factor in bringing about the desired effect in the beginning was your belief, yours and that of your doctor. But as you kept on and on, your belief began to falter, until presently it died away altogether. You may have hoped, but the active belief suggestion to your subconscious mind had stopped carrying conviction. Dr. Richard C. Cabot, professor of medicine at Harvard University, in a recent address declared, 3/4 of all illnesses are cured without the victims even knowing they have had them. Proof of this contention is to be found in post-mortem examinations, which time after time reveal indelible and unmistakable traces of disease which the subject has conquered all unknowingly. 90% of all typhoid cures itself, as does 75% of all pneumonia. In fact, out of a total of 215 diseases known to medical science, there are only about 8 or 9 which doctors conquer. The rest conquers themselves. He went on to say that, if nature assisted by the proper mental and emotional moods, is capable of curing an ulcer in 3 weeks or 4 weeks, why isn't it possible for the same force to heal a similar ulcer in a few minutes when the curative processes have been speeded up abnormally? Great physicians have on numerous occasions maintained that there is no science in medicating people. In preventative medicine, yes. In surgery, yes. In obstetrics. Every day brings the discovery of some new drug, and the consequent dictum that the remedy previously prescribed was all a mistake, that it had little or no real value whatever. One doctor says, a medicine that will not kill you if you take an overdose is no good. The most prominent doctors now claim that there is not a single drug that will do what it has been prescribed for in the past. Dr. Douglas White, writing in The Churchman, sums it up thus: all cure of every disease is spiritual. Healing can never be imposed from without by either the surgeon or physician. It is the living organism which, helped by the skill of the one or the other, is enabled to work its way back to health. The whole principle of healing in all cases is the vis medicatrix naturae. And when we speak of nature, we are only personifying the principle of life which Christians call God. In the medical record of September the 25th, 1920, Dr. Joseph Byrne, Professor of Neurology at Fordham University Medical School, said, at a conservative estimate, it may be admitted that of all the ailments for which relief is sought, 90% or over are self-limited and tend to get well. It may also be admitted that in over 90% of all human ailments, the psychic is the dominating factor. In other words, mind is the healer. Drugs can sometimes make its work easier by removing obstructions, by killing off parasites, but the regular use of drugs is far more likely to harm than to heal. We might well quote to the druggist the old Hindu proverb, God gives the mango, the farmer plants the seed. God cures the patient, the doctor takes the fees. In the Great War, the one drug that most proved its worth was iodine. And what is iodine? It's a cleanser. It kills germs. It cleansed wounds, but it has no healing power, and no healing was expected of it. It did all that it was asked. It cauterized and cleansed so that nature, open bracket, mind, close bracket, could do its own healing unobstructed. That would seem to be the most that should be expected of any drug. Clean the germs of sickness or disease. Cleanse so that nature can then more easily do its rebuilding. And that is where the use of drugs should stop. Mind works best when it is interfered with least, when we throw ourselves entirely upon it for support rather than share the responsibility with some outside agency. It is not through drugs that the medical profession has done so much of good for the world. It is not through drugs that they have improved the general health, cleaned up plague spots, cut down infant mortality, and lengthened the average life expectancy of mankind by 15 years. It is by scotching disease at its very source. It is by getting rid of artificially created and wholesomeness conditions, getting back to natural wholesome conditions. What is the cause of typhoid? Impure water, and its prevention is simply the purifying of the water, getting back to natural wholesome supply. Malaria has been conquered, and doctors predict that in another generation, tuberculosis will be an almost forgotten malady. How were these wonderful results brought about? Not through drugs, but by cleaning up, cleaning out swamps and filth, purifying water, building drainage systems, making everything round about as clean and wholesome as nature herself. Cleanliness, purity, sunshine. God gave us in abundance all that is necessary for perfect health: clean air, pure water, clear sunshine. All we need to do is to keep these pure and clean, and to use all we possibly can of them. The greatest good the medical profession has done mankind is in discovering the value of these gifts of God and showing us how to use them. The Chinese have long had the right idea. They pay their physicians to keep them well, not to cure them of sickness. That way lies the future of medicine, bringing our surroundings back to the natural wholesome conditions for which we were created. That way lies health and happiness and all cleanliness, inside and out, clean air, pure water, plenty of sunshine, and right thinking. In the next chapter, I shall try to show you how you can apply the illimitable power of mind, hopefully towards the successful treatment of disease.